Welcome to Brother, the Masonic podcast with Neil Thomas Allen and Taz Bachu.
So, we are sat in a brand spanking new LOI room in Freemasons Hall in the centre of London, and I'm joined this evening by the newish, we'll go for that, newish communications manager, Shaun Butler. Shaun, how are you, mate?
I'm good. I'm on the mend.
You're on the mend?
I'm on the mend. I've had the dreaded winter lurgy, I'm afraid, which has knocked me for six, but I'm back. And I'm ready for Christmas.
That's it.
And it's good to get out of the way before Christmas, isn't it?
It absolutely is. So, first question, who are you? And tell us a bit about yourself.
Who am I? Wow. Well, as you guys now know, my name's Shaun Butler. I am 26 years of age. I know I look terrible for 26. So I got double that and add 10. But 26 years old. I attended Royal Holloway. At the University of London, which isn't the women's prison, by the way, I should add. I grew up in southeast London, in the London Borough of Bexley, and am now a governor at my previous school.
Fantastic.
Yep, it's a great school. It's called Welling School, which is fantastic. I joined UGLE in April 2017, originally as communications executive with responsibility for social media. And that was in response to the tercentenary year and Grand Lodge really wanting to step up social media output in terms of what they were putting out in what was obviously a historic year for Freemasonry. Fast forward, here I am. Back in August, I was appointed as communications manager. We had a big restructure. Actually, organisationally, we had a massive restructure in terms of how things kind of worked at UGLE. Communications was a big part of that, and I was appointed communications manager with particular responsibility for membership communications. So kind of dealing with provincial communications officers, assisting provinces with how they go about their communications output, and yeah, it's been absolutely fantastic.
And you are also a Freemason, correct?
I am indeed, yes.
Okay, cool. Well, that's helpful, because my next question, can you imagine if you said, actually, no, I'm not? And I would have just been like, okay. So what lodge are you from? And tell us about how you got started and interested in Freemasonry.
So my mother lodge is Greenwich Meridian Lodge, which, unfortunately, due to time constraints, I had to resign from. When I joined UGLE, I had a lot of people suggesting that I join the staff lodge, which is called Letchworth Lodge here at Freemasons Hall, which I did. But fantastic. Just because of, life gets in the way, doesn't it? I did have to resign from my mother lodge, which was a shame. And I get on with a lot of the guys there, but unfortunately, time constraints and whatnot. What attracted me to Freemasonry? Ooh, it was always, for me, the history side of it. I'm a bit of a history buff. I love my history.
Cool.
And for me, the main question was, if you look back in history and you see people like Winston Churchill, the Duke of Wellington, all of these kind of titans of history, and one of the things that connected these people was that they were Freemasons. And what I wanted to understand was, well, what is it about this thing? What is it about this this kind of hobby? Whatever it was, I wasn't quite sure at the time. What was it that attracted these people to it? And that was the first thing that led me through. And as it happened, it turns out that my cousin was a Freemason.
There's always some sort of connection.
There's always something, isn't there?
Is.
Always. And yeah, I basically had a chat with him about it. And he said, well, if you're interested, come along to a white table event, which I did. Was fascinated by it, was fascinated by the people I met.
They got you that way.
They got me.
Yeah, they got you that way.
I was hooked. And then, sure enough, about 6 months later, I was being initiated.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's awesome. First of all, I love the fact that you're comms manager at 26, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
Because I think that young people, especially your young professionals with the bunny ears, have got their finger on the pulse in the comms world and the social media world, right? That's great. So it's brilliant that UGLE are forward thinking enough to trust someone so young to have that sat on their shoulders. So I want to know about how you got involved in the comms and the PR world, or I don't know about PR, but the comms world. How did you kind of get involved with that? Yeah,
so when I was it kind of all started off even through kind of media studies when I was at school, And actually, I think media studies gets a bad rap because every time I tell someone that I did media studies, I kind of go, oh, that was your DOS subject sort of thing.
Generalist.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? It's like, well, actually, it was quite good fun.
That's what I did the same thing too. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's like, and actually now, fast forward, that's what I do for a living.
Yeah,
so
awesome.
actually, it was really useful experience. And yeah, it was kind of there, and it really sparked. I've always been a creative person. I've always enjoyed thinking outside the box. I've always enjoyed a challenge, and communications generally presents that every day in one way or the other.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just kind of found myself really kind of hooked by the challenges and learning different things. And as I say, that kind of developed into when I was at university. Every kind of opportunity I had, I was doing things on social media. I was doing things on websites. I was, experimenting with press releases for university societies. Any kind of chance I could get to hook into it, I did, which may explain why I got a 2-2. I'm not sure. Got the Desmond banked.
Yeah, love that.
But you know what? It was fantastic. And actually, from that, I just knew that's what I wanted to do.
That's awesome.
From that moment, that was it. This is what I want to do for a living. And to do it here, with something I'm so passionate about, with Freemasonry, is awesome. Yeah.
So you mentioned, and I'm going to jump onto one of the things you mentioned, that you like a challenge within your kind of like day-to-day work.
Yeah.
Freemasonry and the media is going to give you a challenge. So you've signed up for it.
Yeah, absolutely,
right?
yeah.
What I want to know, you get to work, you have your morning coffee or whatever you do. What is your like standard day to day? What does it look like?
A standard day to day. To be honest with you, there isn't a standard day to day.
Yeah.
There really isn't, because the role is so varied. If you'd have asked me this question back, when I started, I'd be able to tell you quite easily, because I was working on social media. That was pretty much it.
Yeah.
I managed to kind of make the role a bit more diverse, took on a few more bits and whatnot. But in terms of this job, it is literally different every day. So I could find myself having kind of telephone calls with provincial communications officers. I could be, advising provincial Grand Masters on certain things with communications, that sort of thing. We have a lot of meetings. I kind of guest visit on the Learning and Development Group, which is, the group that kind of formulated Solomon, the big learning platform.
We'll get to that.
We'll get to Solomon. So as I say, no day is the same. I actually, for the time being, I'm still working on social media.
Yeah.
So essentially, we're restructuring the communications team at the minute. In January, the hope is, and the belief is, that we'll have everyone in place in the comms team. So we'll really be looking to hit the ground running at that point. And so, social media is still taking up a bit of time.
Yeah. I think, to be honest, within our organisation, I think it always will.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Because
and so it should.
Yeah.
I think,
I know that you mentioned that your role primarily is to look at internal communications, but I don't see how it couldn't entail some external stuff as well.
Absolutely.
Like I feel like it would need to. So you said that you've been running workshops and whatnot, or you said that your day to day can be on these workshops.
Absolutely.
We've seen you travel up and down the country.
Michael Palin. Yeah.
You are like Michael Palin. I was thinking like more kind of the train diaries with Portillo. To be fair.
You know what? I've not got as colourful chinos as him, but that's a great
Work
shout.
on it.
That's a great shout. To be fair, that is better.
So your next selfie travelling up there, please include some sort of like garish
colourful chinos. Fine.
Yeah.
We can do that, definitely. Not a problem.
So these workshops, so you're going into the provinces, which I love, by the way. You're evangelising kind of your message and UGLE's message to the provinces, which I don't think they've had someone go out there and do that potentially before in such a way.
Okay.
Which is fantastic. What are these workshops about? Like high level kind of, what are you going in there to kind of talk about? So
I think for us it was identifying what provinces needed from the UGLE communications team. That was very much the first port of call for us. And I think the first thing that we identified was that I think sometimes provinces felt like they were just left to get on with it. And actually, I don't think you can leave volunteers to get on with it sometimes, because they do need a little bit of guidance, and they need a bit of help.
Framework.
Yeah, exactly. A bit of assistance, a bit of guidance from us at the centre, and I don't think that's a bad thing at all. And actually, a lot of this stuff, so in the workshop we talk about mainly social media content, websites, that sort of thing. it's pretty new stuff for some of these guys.
Yeah.
And actually, for us, you know, what we try to have is we try to have the provincial communications officer there, the executive team if we can, because sometimes it's good to be able to have the opportunity to kind of sell the idea to them.
Well, I think you need to win over the exec, because then it floats down through, right?
Absolutely. So there's an element of that, and also lodge level guys. You know, if people want to set up social media pages for their lodges, all that sort of thing, and it's a very kind of entry level stuff.
Super high level, like doesn't need a.
It doesn't. You don't need to be kind of going really in depth into stuff. Actually, for us, it's about sharing best practice.
Great.
It's about kind of showing them ways that they can save themselves a little bit of time with this stuff, because I think sometimes with social media, some people can feel that it's kind of all encompassing, you know, and actually they just don't have the time. So for us, it's about, you know, making sure that they're using their time reasonably. You know, that if we can, you know, we're getting regular content submitted to Freemasonry Today, which is another thing that falls under my remit. And you know that it's kind of consistent as well. You know, so there's a consistent, constant flow of good quality content. That's the aim. You know, I don't think we're there yet, but actually, what I've seen across the board is a real improvement. Actually, recently from provinces, I don't think that's entirely down to the workshops at all. But I think actually there is a greater focus now on communications generally at a provincial level, and of course up here at Grand Lodge.
Do you think this kind of uptake, you know, like the uptake of social media, and even just comms in general, like the way their approach to it has picked up? Do you also think that might have something to do with, I don't know, just a generational thing? I think when I joined Freemasonry 2012. I was hot on social media. I was doing it for Fred Perry at the time, and I was having a great time.
Cool.
But I got kind of slowly more ingrained into Freemasonry. Yep. And as the years went by, which feels really strange to say, like as the years went by,
old timer.
Yeah, this is it. This is it. I kind of realised that actually those skills are transferable to Freemasonry.
Yeah.
Do you reckon that it's something to do with those people that got initiated at 21 are now starting to come into offices in Freemasonry with a little bit more responsibility, and maybe their lodge exec are starting to trust them and give them that? Yes,
I do, and I do see that. Actually, I see that in some provinces, which is really promising, because actually it's trusting, isn't it? You know, it's having an issue to entrust this stuff to people, because social media can go wrong. You know, there's plenty of examples of that kind of from around the world generally. So it's about, I guess, making sure they've got the right people in place who get it and understand this stuff. But I think just as much, I think it's probably maybe a societal thing, I don't know, but there's kind of seems to be a recognition from what I've seen that this stuff isn't going anywhere. You know, social media is going to be with us now for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, it's pretty much ingrained now.
It is, isn't it? Yeah. You know, it's part of our lives. And actually, I think we either move with it and use it to our benefit, and I really think there's definitely a pathway for us to do that.
Yep.
You know, and make it work for us as Freemasons, or you get left behind and everyone else is doing it but us. Mm-hmm. So I really think, you know, it's an open goal in a lot of ways, this stuff. You know, if the foundation, if the groundwork is there, and you're doing the basics right, actually you're okay with this sort of thing. You know, and actually I don't think you can really go wrong.
Who is the perfect candidate? Just for people listening, for example, who maybe are a DC or an ADC of their lodge, and they're kind of like, you know, their installation meeting might be coming up and they're looking for different roles to give people. But actually, they thought that they might include, I don't know, social media officer or marketing, I don't know, liaison officer. I have no idea. Yeah, but who's the perfect candidate for someone, for a lodge, to handle their comms?
I think at the very first, it's got to be someone that understands it, you know, because actually I think it is a sort of an art to it in some ways. You know,
the art of subtlety.
Yeah, the art of subtlety, and actually knowing where the line is, and knowing when probably not to cross that line, and knowing your audience. Because actually, an issue that we have, it's not an issue. A challenge that we face is that we have both an internal audience, which is members, and then we have an external audience, which is non-members. So for us, a lot of the stuff that we put out is aimed at primarily an external audience, because we want to improve public perception of Freemasonry. We want to educate people on Freemasonry, but actually we also keep in mind that we need to take the membership with us when we do this stuff. So in terms of the ideal candidate, I think it's someone who gets that, and someone who is able to understand the difference between those two audiences. I think someone who has the time to do it consistently.
I was going to say consistency is so
Consistency
key.
is important, but I would say actually I would take quality over consistency every day of the week, just because actually, I think if you're posting out, however many times, 30, 40 times a day, it's far too much, because your message gets saturated.
Correct.
Nobody cares,
Yeah.
Whereas if you're hitting them with, one, maybe 2 tweets a day that are high quality, well thought through, you've thought about your audience, that is really what you want to be doing. So if someone gets that and is able to kind of harness that and use that and utilize that and reach those audiences, that's your person, really.
Got it.
That's your person.
Shaun, you're making my job awfully easy, because actually, this is a perfect segue. So, someone who gets it, right? Yep. Someone who knows the line. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about the line. Okay, you personally, your day-to-day job, you're doing your social media, you're working with your team.
Yep.
How do you guys tackle or challenge negative perception?
Yeah, so again, it does. It is literally, we know it as the line, because I think that often dictates how we react to it. So there will be stuff, again, thinking purely from a social media point of view, there will be stuff like, your Illuminati type comments.
Love it.
Yeah, that sort of thing, which
that.
is absolute meat and drink for Freemasons on social media. We see it every day.
Yep.
99% of it is absolute tosh.
Of course.
But we're used to it, and we have a zero tolerance policy to that across our platforms. If we see it, we block it, we delete it.
Okay.
But we just don't indulge it. But there are certain times, for example, if we post out something and you might get, a woman will come on and might say something along the lines of, oh, well, I can't join. That actually is an opportunity.
It's a challenge, isn't it?
It's a bit of a challenge, because it's like, well, actually,
laying down the gauntlet.
Yeah, we're gonna try and correct that misconception, and then well, actually, have you heard of the OWF or HFAF or these the female Grand Lodges?
Yeah.
But it's understanding, I guess, how you when the time is there that you need to be challenging, and you need to go back and try and clear up some misconceptions, and when actually you just say, you know what, this person either has nefarious motives, as in they're trying to scam someone.
They have an agenda.
They have an agenda, or, they're just never going to be convinced, and it's just pointless and it's abusive, and we don't allow that on our platform. So for us, it's definitely kind of identifying, and I mean, social media is very good, because actually with things like Facebook, you can go into your settings and automatically hide certain words. So words like Illuminati, that sort of thing, we have an automatic tool that basically blocks it.
That's wise.
And then I can go, absolutely, because it's common. But we can go in, and I can then, when I see it, I can then block the people and get rid of them. And hopefully, none of these kind of scams have worked.
Yeah. No. Okay.
In the course of the post. Yeah.
So even I learned something there. You can do that. You can keyword block.
Yeah, you keyword block on Facebook.
Glad I came now. This is great. Okay, so let's look forward to 2020. So I have no doubt that if you haven't already, you will be having a sit down to discuss the vision and where you want the comms and I don't know, maybe just the public perception of UGLE in 2020 to go. What can you tell us?
Ooh, I think for us generally, the main challenge is improving public perception. And actually, we're doing that. One of the main ways we're doing that is that we've recruited a PR manager, which is not something that we've had before at UGLE. So that person's job is literally going to be, sending out press releases and actually having engagement with the press. Actually,
it's a nice touch.
Yeah, and actually, instead of just waiting to respond to negative stuff, well, let's actually go out and build relationships with these people. Let's just not let them have this kind of general negative perception of Freemasonry. Let's get in there, let's build a relationship, let's clear up some of those misconceptions. And I think that will go a long way.
I'm just thinking, like, wouldn't it be nice if you've got a great story, you want to break, pick up the phone to, I don't know, the Mirror or the Times, and we're taking politics out of it, but whatever publication you want, your PR person picks up the phone, the person at the other end of the phone, instead of being like, oh God, here we go again, they're trying to clear their name. Wouldn't it be nice if they were like, oh, wicked, that's brilliant. Okay, we'll pop that in the next timeout. We'll pop that in the next.
Yep.
So yeah, I think that's a great hire.
Yep.
Is that new? Is that?
It's new, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, amazing.
And actually, something we found was, again, some of the feedback we got when we were going around talking to provinces was that actually it's so interesting how different provinces have different relationships with the press. So there was one, I think it's Northamptonshire and Huntingdonshire, actually have a column in the newspaper.
Oh, that's awesome.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
that's
that
great.
they utilise and they talk about all the fantastic kind of things that they're doing in Northampton Hunts.
Oh, why can't everywhere have that?
Well, that's it. And actually,
That's
I think
fantastic.
then you go to another province the next week and it will be, they don't even pick up the phone to us. Or as soon as we mention the word Freemasons, the phone goes dead.
Yeah.
So for us, I guess it's getting to the bottom of why that's the case. And it's also, I think a lot of it is that the nature of local journalism has changed so much in that I think, the stories that they get have to fit a very kind of small kind of target demographic.
Why
I
am I
guess.
thinking of Hot Fuzz and the Swan?
Yeah, literally.
Like-
It's very much kind of like that. And if you kind of fall outside of that remit, then you've got no chance.
Yeah.
And actually, words like Freemasons, I think, often in the past of alarm bells have been going off
Absolutely.
in newsrooms. But our aim, and I think we're getting there. We're starting. I hope, and this will obviously develop even more when the PR manager starts. Kicked off with the Enough is Enough campaign.
Yep.
That
was a big.
That was a
big
biggie.
deal.
That was
Yeah.
a biggie, and that I think for me really was the turning point in terms of how we go about doing things.
Having David on board from that as well was just another I
Yeah,
don't know.
absolutely.
It just felt like it was a perfect alignment of you had someone who was just starting his role.
Yep.
Who, for want of a better term, was cheesed off about the way an article was displayed, and he said, "Actually, do you know what? I've had enough of this.
Yeah.
For you guys, that must have been like a perfect opportunity
and it
to
was.
get it out."
And actually, it's very refreshing with David Staples because he's a person who gets it.
Yeah,
He gets it, and that is absolutely ideal for us in the communications team, because then that you've got the support of the Grand Secretary and the CEO. So that's a big deal. But I think that was very much a case of, I think some time ago that probably would have just been allowed to sit and would have been out there. But the fact that we were really proactive in countering that, and in the way that we did, 3 adverts in national newspapers. Poor David, I think, did about 32 interviews that day, something ridiculous. Really, I think, kind of set out our stall in terms of, we're not gonna sit back and take this stuff anymore.
yeah,
We're not gonna allow this stuff just to be put out there and just to left to kind of settle.
Yep.
We're gonna counteract it. And actually, when we did that, it very quickly became clear that most of the story was inaccurate in one way or the other.
Of course it was.
Of course it was, yeah.
And then a lot of it, I can only imagine, someone, so this was, I believe it's Dawn Foster's article, or there was a interview
It was something like
with
that,
Dawn
yeah,
Foster
yeah,
that put out in The Guardian that she was completely against, or she broke a story about Westminster or something like that, I think it was.
Yep.
And then, for once, Freemasons went, actually, no,
Yeah, literally, yeah.
no, we're not going to take it anymore.
Yep.
Enough. This is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is inaccurate because.
Yep.
And I think it's the first time anybody's actually said to someone,
Yeah.
no, you're wrong, and
Yeah.
here's why.
And here's why.
And
yeah.
I think it was almost like a keyboard warrior effect. That someone went, oh, blimey.
Good, yeah.
Okay, yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did they apologise? I don't even think they did, they?
If they did, it was kind of bottom of page 56,
Yeah.
right down at the bottom, font size 6, right down the bottom. But I think actually what you said just there, the here's why is the important bit.
Yeah.
The kind of explaining why they were wrong, and actually it was an ideal opportunity. We were on the front page of newspapers. The ideal opportunity for us to clear up so many misconceptions.
Yeah, and it was done in such a way, and I loved it because it's this art of subtlety.
Yeah.
It was done in such a way that it was we put our back up.
Mm-hmm.
We said no, but it wasn't done with like a it wasn't done in like a animosity. Like there was no animosity behind it. It was no,
Yeah.
but come and have a look. Come and speak to me. Come and write to me. Ask me any questions you want.
Yeah.
It was fantastic, and that's why I think it works so well. So PR being the first thing.
Yep.
It sounds like next year is going to be.
Yep, hopefully, and I think again, I'm really keen as part of my role to develop, relationships at a provincial level, getting out there, meeting provinces, all the way down to lodge level.
Yep.
That's where I think we can really push on next year, because I think, there is a real thirst for knowledge on this stuff. They, from my experience, Freemasons want to know the stuff they don't know already. Mm-hmm. They want to learn about, social media. They want to learn about how to have a good website. They want to learn how to basically make Freemasonry...
Stop their lodges dying out.
Yeah.
Is essentially
exactly.
about, reach people.
Yeah, and nowadays the way that you reach people is through digital media. That I think is generally the best way.
Yeah.
We have a great tool in Freemasonry today that I think is a fantastic way for us to share with each other stories that about what we're getting up to, what provinces are getting up to. That's really useful from an internal communications point of view. And actually, we always say to people, once you've finished reading Freemasonry today, take it along to your doctor's surgery, take it along to your dentist, to your local library.
Give it to a work colleague.
Leave it just lying around somewhere.
That's
hope
it.
Someone picks it up, because there's no harm in that, actually.
No.
And I think for us, again, the goal always has to be improving public perception of Freemasonry, because we want more people to join Freemasonry. It would be such a shame if we didn't kind of go all out on that, and we didn't make every effort that we could to kind of turn people's opinion around. Not that actually public opinion on Freemasonry is universally bad, because it isn't. And I think that in itself is a misconception, that everyone hates Freemasons, because that's not true.
No.
Because actually, you just have to look at, the latest edition of Freemasonry Today or provincial social media pages to see all the fantastic charity work that Freemasons do. And actually, I think it was the Provincial Grand Lodge of Somerset, they actually have kind of badges now that they give out to charities. I think they're from the Masonic Charitable Foundation, or it's done in conjunction with the MCF.
Yeah.
And what they do is they give it to the charity. After they make a donation, they give this badge to the charity, and the charity will kind of stick it up on a window or a wall display or something. And it basically says, that the donation was made, and it kind of goes into a bit of detail, I think, about how the donation has helped. That sort of thing is fantastic, because it's demonstrating how, Freemasons are coming together. They're donating to charity. They're kind of helping their communities, and here's how they're doing it. This is an example of it, and you're kind of pointing to it and making it clear. So I think generally we need to shout out so much more about our achievements, because there are so many things that we do, and we need to be more proud of it. We need to kind of shout louder about it. Definitely.
So, got a couple more questions before we wrap up. But I want to, so tell me what you're planning to do with Solomon, because I know Solomon was launched to great acclaim, by the way.
Yep.
Almost like a open university style experience, I thought.
Yeah.
It got some great information in there. I think it had some great information.
Sure.
I mean, I will say that I did find, when it first came out, I did find it quite clunky to use. I think drilling down into the different subsections and finding materials and whatnot could be a bit clunky to someone who wasn't particularly au fait with websites and portals and whatnot. But I thought the overall product was fantastic, and I think I'm personally looking forward to seeing where that's going to go next year.
Yeah.
So I wonder if you can talk about that.
Sure. So yeah, as I say, I kind of often go along and attend the Learning and Development Group, which is chaired by the Provincial Grand Master of Berkshire, Anthony Howlett Bolton, and there's several PGMs that sit on that. But what you also have is volunteers who are kind of communications professionals outside, and they are the people that created Solomon. They're the ones that built it.
Okay, so it was kind of internal idea, external building.
So it's very much kind of members going out there and really kind of taking initiatives and actually it kind of from a UGLE point of view, I guess it was kind of like I think we were really keen to encourage members to get involved in that way, and you see that with things like Members Pathway, those sorts of initiatives that have been such a big success. Solomon, as I say, kind of there's not too much I can say on that.
Yep.
But from the meetings that I've attended, it's looking really good. And actually, yesterday, the Facebook and Twitter pages were launched for Solomon. So if you're not following it,
Please plug it.
On you go. Yeah, at Solomon UGLE.
There you go.
Get on that. And basically, the reasoning behind that is that that's going to be basically used for sharing new nuggets of information and stuff that's uploaded to Solomon.
Nice.
And actually, I feel like there's so obviously a place for it on social, in terms of the fact that if I was a non-Freemason and I'd heard so much about, I don't know, the third degree or the initiation, and I wanted to find out a bit more, what better way to attract those people than through a really kind of well-crafted, interesting tweet that brings them in, and it's like, bang, right, you've got them on there. But I think there is a general appreciation from the people on that, working group, that they're keen to develop it and they're keen to kind of keep moving with it. So there will definitely be developments on that, because they're always looking to improve it.
Yeah, that's super exciting.
Yeah.
So, okay, last question. We're at the point of the last question.
Here we go.
All right. So we are listened to. Some of our followers are non-Masons. Some are particularly new Masons.
Okay.
And some are a little bit more kind of seasoned Freemasons, to coin a better term. What would you say to each, if you could give a piece of advice from the comms team at UGLE to, a non-Mason who might be particularly interested, a new Freemason, and an experienced Freemason?
Okay, so we'll start with experienced Freemason. So experienced Freemason, I would say, share your experience. Share your experience. Get onto social media. Get onto, I don't know, anything. Just a platform. Volunteer at your lodge to talk about it, because actually, I think when I joined, it was so invaluable to be able to talk to more experienced members who could guide me through it. Be it my lodge mentor, be it just someone who'd been in 20, 30 years. To give me a bit of advice, in terms of learning ritual, in terms of techniques for getting words and right and that sort of thing, and taking on new roles within the lodge. So get on there and share your experience, and tell us and tell people, tell non-members what it is that you enjoy about Freemasonry.
So that's your experience.
That's my experience one. New Freemason,
fairly new Mason. Yeah,
fairly new Mason. I would say stick with it. Stick with it, because. I think I understand that you do your first degree, you do your second, you do your third, all right, you wait, you might join the Royal Arch, you may not. But actually what comes in between that, what happens then, if there's a bit of a queue for roles in the lodge, there's a potential that maybe you could get a bit bored or work commitments, that sort of thing. But my advice would be stick with it.
Yep.
Always stay abreast of things that are coming out from Grand Lodge, because that kind of member engagement with communications is another big area that we're going to be hitting.
Volunteer yourself to do social media.
Exactly. If you've got, and actually, to add in certain provinces where they have a really strong, thriving university scheme lodge.
Yep.
They get those guys to do their social media.
Perfect.
And you can tell, and it pays off.
Yeah. Okay. And
new non-member
who might be interested.
My advice to a new member who might be interested would be to watch our brand new Discover Freemasonry video on the UGLE website, or on our social media channels. You can watch that. It's a 10-minute video, and for me, it sets out exactly why someone should want to be a Freemason. It's got all kind of the key messaging in it, and actually it sets out beyond the kind of standard taglines that you see some Freemasons use. It actually goes into why you will enjoy it. Because I think enjoyment is something that's so understated in Freemasonry. People shouldn't see this as a chore. They should enjoy it. They should enjoy it as a hobby. And actually, I think if I was interested, but I hadn't quite made that step yet, I would definitely be saying, do your research, look into it, make sure the time is right for you.
Yep.
And
watch the video.
Absolutely.
Right.
Took us ages.
Well, Shaun, listen. I could just from talking to you, I can tell that you are insanely passionate about what you do.
Absolutely,
here.
Yeah.
I am infinitely excited to see what you and your team do next year. And mate, thank you so much for joining us.
No, you're more than welcome.